So all right, so this next clip piece of news we're gonna get into. So they're saying that came across a news report that covered the Sinaloa Cartel, El Chapo, El Mayo, them, you know, the Chapitos. Sinaloa is it's kind of like, how could I say, all the top narcos and shit. Like, I mean, essentially narco trafficking in Mexico. You know, like a lot of the big wig that turned it into what we know it to be now came out of Sinaloa. You know what I mean? Culiacan, Mazatlan, all that shit, whatever. I think about Tuna too, whatever and shit. That's where Chapo had his ranch and all that. So they said that the cartel Sinaloa was hacking FBI agents' phones to locate informants and either intimidate them or take them out. So we're gonna get into the news clip and then I'm gonna chime in or whatever and give y'all my take on it.
Turning to this story, the Sinaloa Cartel using cell phone data and surveillance cameras to find and kill FBI informants. This is according to a new audit released by the U.S. Justice Department. The audit saying a hacker hired by the cartel accessed FBI special agent call logs and Mexico City's camera system and used that information to identify persons of interest for the cartel. The cartel then intimidated and in some cases killed those individuals. News Nation's Mills Hayes joining us live to break this down. Mills, what are we learning about this?
Hi, Natasha. Well, one of the largest, most dangerous cartels, the Sinaloa Cartel, was able to hack into an FBI official's phone records and use surveillance cameras in Mexico City to help track and kill FBI informants. A new DOJ report this week detailed how the Mexican criminal enterprise hired a hacker in 2018 to track people coming in and out of the U.S. Embassy as investigators were working their case against notorious cartel boss El Chapo, the hacker was able to breach Mexico City's phone data and camera system to track an FBI official who they then followed and identified informants that the FBI agent met with. The cartel then used that information to intimidate and in some instances kill potential sources or cooperating witnesses. The cartel's leader El Chapo is now behind bars in Colorado, but U.S. still offering $10 million for information leading to the capture of two of El Chapo's sons who are accused of rebuilding their father's international drug empire. And while the FBI says that they are working on a strategic plan to address some of the Inspector General's concerns, recent technological advances have made it easier than ever for criminal enterprises to identify and exploit vulnerabilities, according to the report, something that's a big concern for our national security, Natasha.
Yeah, certainly. And Mills, we're hearing it's not just the Sinaloa Cartel. On federal authorities' radars, a top Tren de Aragua gang member has also now made the notorious top 10 list. What are you tracking there?
Right. Well, our viewers have definitely heard about the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua and their presence here in the U.S., now in all 50 U.S. states. Now, 3 federal agencies are targeting one of their leaders who is on the run, the FBI placing him on the 10 most wanted list, describing him as a senior leader in Tren de Aragua. The State Department now offering a $3 million reward for information leading to the capture of Giovanni Vicente Mascara Serrano. The DOJ has charged Mascara with drug offenses and terrorism-related crimes. The Treasury Department is cutting him off from any illicit money money or property that he may be keeping in the U.S., even warning financial institutions and other third parties that they could face civil or criminal penalties for doing business with the crime boss. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying, quote, TDA remains focused on terrorizing our communities and facilitating the flow of illicit narcotics into our country, relying on key leaders like Mascara Serrano to finance and oversee their violent operations. TDA was designated a foreign terrorist organization by the U.S. government this past February, alleging that the group engages in drug trafficking, human smuggling, extortion, money laundering, and also the sexual exploitation of women and children. Natasha.
All right, Mel's Hayes with that live report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for watching.
All right. So this whole this story was interesting to me or whatever, in the sense that Chapo up here. You always hear the narrative about how technology is making crime impossible to get away with and all of this, right? And one time I was on Clubhouse and I was explaining to people that the same way that law enforcement is advancing technologically, you would be a fool to think that the criminal organizations are probably not already a step ahead. You understand what I'm saying? Because the game of cat and mouse, the cat is doing the chasing, like catching up. You got to modify his methods or whatever for the new slick ways of the mouse. You know. Now, the fact that now we're getting into a space where criminal groups are becoming sophisticated enough to hack into federal cell data and pull up locations and numbers and figure out where to find informants. That's pretty wild. And you have to understand like how the cartel group works. So they supply organizations within the United States. Their bread and butter is making sure that these organizations survive and have a fighting chance. So the same way they're upping their technology, they're putting some of their high-level clients in the United States up on game of how to circumvent, you know, the heat that might come from, you know, law enforcement and so on. So the whole idea that, you know, the streets is over and all of that other shit, it's not, bro. Some people are just burnt out and they don't want to believe that, you know, they folded and just had enough. And so in their mind, it's just like saying, hey, man, it's done. Like, you know what I mean? Time to hang it up, y'all. Everybody go home. And it's like people in the streets will be like, nah, nigga, you go home. You scared. Like that Jeezy mixtape and shit. Trapping ain't dead. These niggas just scared. But I know it won't happen, but free Chapo, man. You know what I'm saying? What's crazy with the El Chapo situation is this was now that new clip or whatever was from 3 weeks ago. If y'all remember, Chapo. So before that, you know, that article came out and everything like that, like she said, it was still with a reward out for Chapo's sons. And we all know the situation or whatever with one of Chapo's sons kind of tricking El Mayo onto a plane and basically turning him over to the U.S. government.
live at 4:30. Two leaders of a notorious Mexican drug cartel are now behind bars in the U.S. The drug kingpin known as El Mayo and one of El Chapo's sons are both accused of sending deadly fentanyl into the U.S. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us for Action News Live at 4:30. I'm Dale Uron.
And I'm Graciela Moreno. We've learned that El Chapo's son, Joaquín Guzmán Lopez, helped U.S. investigators in the capture of El Mayo.
ABC's Morgan Norwood explains how the operation unfolded and the result of El Mayo's first court appearance.
Dale, Graciela, the Sinaloa Cartel, one of the most violent drug operations responsible for shipping thousands of pounds of cocaine, meth, fentanyl into the U.S. Authorities celebrating the arrest of their two most powerful leaders.
Two of the most powerful kingpins in Mexico's infamous Sinaloa drug cartel in U.S. custody today, tricked into boarding a plane that ended up bringing them to El Paso, Texas, and into the hands of the feds. Authorities say the drug bosses are behind massive operations, pumping fentanyl into the U.S. Ismael Zambada Garcia, known in the drug world as El Mayo, one of the most wanted men on the planet, now in U.S. custody, along with Joaquín Guzmán Lopez, the son of the notorious El Chapo, who co-founded the cartel with his dad and evaded arrest for decades, despite the $15 million bounty.
He is facing charges for fentanyl trafficking, money laundering, firearms offenses, kidnapping, and conspiracy to commit murder.
Like a scene out of a movie, the two suspects lured into a highly coordinated sting. Federal officials say El Mayo thought he was headed to inspect one of his own Mexican airfields.
They ended up landing in Texas, and they were greeted by the FBI and agents from the Department of Homeland Security Investigations. It was an extraordinary turn to be able to get these men to basically fly into the United States and be arrested by U.S. agents.
El Mayo going before Judge Friday, pleading not guilty to a number of charges and a lengthy indictment out of West Texas. President Biden praising the arrest.
So, first off, man, shout out, my bad, y'all. I'm so busy rotating, looking up all this shit or whatever. Shout out to everybody who pulled up and shit. Shout out to everybody in the comments. The Truth Chronicles. The first case we were talking about was Cash Out. Got life plus 70. His mama got 30 years, and the other co-defendant, dude, last name is Taylor, he got 194. Cash Out with the nigga from Atlanta, had the cashing out shit, whatever, record. Kind of a one-hit wonder, you might say. And yeah, now as far as this story, Chapo's son, like, yeah, they definitely cooperating because, as you see, he just set up that whole shit with El Mayo and basically tricked him on the plane and handed them over to the government. Now, I believe they already had a video, right? And saying that or whatever, that kind of leads into the next video, because a video clearly struck a deal, because Chapo's family ended up entering into the United States and everything like that, which is what we're going to get into now. Hold on.
Right now, Sinaloa Cartel kingpin Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán is serving a life sentence in a Colorado prison. And as he does, more than a dozen of his family members just entered the United States through here in San Diego. It's part of a deal as the feds prosecute his sons and several other cartel leaders. NBC7's Shelley Bremer has more.
At least 17 family members of notorious drug lord El Chapo were spotted entering the U.S. right here through the San Ysidro port of entry. The Mexican government confirms this is part of a plea agreement his son has struck. Experts tell us this kind of deal is incredibly rare.
This video, taken Friday, shows more than a dozen relatives of Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán coming across the...
Hey, I'm wondering how much money in them suitcases, nigga. That's the shit I would have been sitting here like... Boy, I know ain't shit in there but cash, money, and jewels, nigga. Ain't no way in hell. I don't think them niggas pack no clothes. We shop when we land. You know what I'm saying? But he struck a deal. Whatever deal this nigga struck to get his whole damn family like set up like that. Like I said, it might be a Guzmán in a town near you, bro. Now the question is, who gonna stay out of trouble and who gonna get jammed up in some shit? Cause you see, when I was talking about the Flores twins the other day, I said how and shit last week too when I was talking about the whole Cato situation or whatever, DMX and all that. But the thing with the Flores brothers was that their wives end up catching money laundering charges after they were already put in the witness protection program and running around doing this whole cartel wide thing and everything like that. So, you know, like, these motherfuckers are real loose with it.
The U.S.-Mexico border in San Isidro with rolling suitcases in hand.
Ovidio, como lo vimos todos en las noticias, comienza una negociación.
In an interview Monday, Mexico's Secretary of Security said the U.S. Department of Justice offered their entry as part of a deal with Ovidio Guzmán López. Guzmán López is one of two sons of El Chapo who are currently being held in Chicago on major drug trafficking charges. He's now set to plead guilty.
This is definitely a very unique situation.
Attorney Cesar Luna says this appears to be an arrangement of cooperation in exchange for protection, and an indicator the family fears violent retaliation.
You know, the son who's in prison, I'll talk, but you need to protect my family.
News of their arrival surfaced the same day federal prosecutors in San Diego unveiled new indictments against alleged cartel leaders.
Let me be direct. To the leaders of the Sinaloa Cartel, you are no longer the hunters. You are the hunted.
Though they declined to comment on the relatives of its most infamous kingpin.
Yeah, we're going to focus on this case. Next question.
But Luna says they're inextricably tied together.
We're seeing...
Yeah, he said we just gonna focus. Nah, nigga. Yeah, they made a deal or whatever. So look, bro. You know, with these motherfuckers, like, it's the Mexican government, it's deal that's been struck with DEA. Like, the curtain had been pulled down, bro. We all know that these people basically pick who's gonna be their villain. You get what I mean? Like, who can we deal with? And usually it'll be the person who they feel like can keep the order. The motherfucker that everybody is afraid of enough where it might keep things in line or whatever. Or, you know, whoever got the best business acumen. You know what I mean? Because they don't give a damn about how much drugs come in the country. They bring drugs into the country. And they've been doing that shit ever since back in, like, the, you know, before, like, the World War I days and shit like that or whatever, when Taiwan is actually the first narco state. And you look at the history of Taiwan and Japan and China, and, but it get deep. It get real deep. Now you start realizing a lot of this shit or whatever ain't about fighting for freedom. Yeah, in a sense, it is. In a sense, it's not. You get what I mean? Like, but like the saying goes, America is not a country, it's a corporation. It's an organization. And if you look at how the feds will build an organization chart and you look at the chart of government, it kind of looks the same. So, you know, yeah, bro, like they'll strike deals if you really got something to offer. I mean, even on the lower level, like, you know, I mean, the mob even, right? Sammy Guevara killed 19 people, including his brother-in-law. They let that nigga go. Blows my ass. You don't care about these victims.
Lately, that the administration is being very forceful on drug trafficking.
No tenemos la información oficial o pública.
And as the Mexican president says the U.S. has shared few details of the deal, it raises questions about the relationship between the two nations.
What are the issues of sovereignty? What's the cooperation looking like? So it's very, very interesting.
Court records show Guzman Lopez's change of plea hearing is set for July in Chicago. From San Isidro, Shelby Bremer, NBC7.
It's not clear where exactly the family is located today. The Department of Justice declined to comment.
So, just goes to show. Very true what a lawyer once told me. I got myself in some shit. I walked out of there and I was kind of surprised how it turned out for me. And that nigga said, justice is a luxury reserved for those who could afford it. It's the coldest shit I ever heard. One of the coldest things I've ever heard.